Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first Let's Talk About It podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be discussing current events all around the world and how they affect our contemporary society today. So, before we get started, I would like to introduce you to our team. My name is Liz Berma,
My name is Melissa.
My name's Kiara.
My name's Jair.
and today we're going to be talking about the recent protests in Turkey over the high femicide rate in that country. So, let's talk about it.
So I'm sure lately people have been seeing that people are posting black and white pictures on Instagram, and they've been captioning it hashtag challenge accepted. So a lot of people are like confused over the origins of this. People are saying that it's for women empowerment, when reality is a lot of news outlets are reporting that it's originally to as a result of what's happening in Turkey. Turkey's having a high femicide rate, and they're really trying to bring awareness to that. So you may be wondering what femicide is, and it's the killing of a woman based on their gender. So the reason why people are posting black and white pictures is to show that they could be one of the victims too, since they've seen so many women being published on the newspapers because they were killed by their loved ones or supposedly loved ones or their relatives and such like that. So it's really just to bring awareness over what's happening in Turkey, and so that people understand that there needs to be a change.
But somehow, it was lost in translation, right, Melissa? Like I saw Ivanka Trump post about it and about how, this was all about the women that have brought her up, when in reality, this was all about the women that have been brought down. So,
Yeah.
that just only highlights the importance of researching whatever it is you're going to post about, right?
Definitely.
So this whole thing started because Final Yul Taiken, I believe, Melissa? Is that how you pronounce her last name? Yes. Okay. Final Yul Taiken. So this was a 27-year-old student in Turkey who was murdered, brutally murdered by her ex-boyfriend. So he beat her and he strangled her, and then he buried her body, and he buried her in concrete. And it's just incredibly horrible to think about those images, especially if you think about that happening to one of your loved ones, right? So everyone was incredibly impacted by such a brutal killing. Her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, he admitted to having killed her just 32 hours after the murder had been done. And upon hearing about this, all the women in the country started rising up and protesting against the government that seems not to be protesting this woman correctly, right? I mean, since 2008 up to 2019, 3,185 women have been murdered. And to put that into perspective as in a recent time, because I know 2018 to 2019 can seem like a big gap, 211 women have been murdered just this year, 36 in July, and right now 6 murders have already been recognized in this month of August, which can seem like basically a woman murdered every other day in Turkey. And we can only expect such murders to rise because of COVID-19 and how people are quarantining inside and everything. Because if you're inside, you don't really have any of that protection, as in when you're not home from your loved ones or supposed loved ones, as you said, Melissa. This is something horrible. Now, Jair, can you tell us a little bit about why this is happening?
Okay, so the reason why a bunch of women are being killed in Turkey is because of tradition. So back then in Turkey, it was very custom for the man to do everything. Like they were allowed to go outside. They were basically allowed to do everything, while like the female was not allowed to. And as time changes in Turkey as well. And now females are getting more rights. Like they can vote in office, they can be elected into office. They could basically do much more things, and they're basically becoming more equal as men. And this upsets a lot of people on both parts, like female and male, and they just don't think that it's right. They don't think that it's breaking tradition. They don't think it should be allowed. So they're just upset and they kill females because they don't think that is right.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for a man to do an honor killing?
An honor killing is the murder of a member of a family due to the perpetrator's belief that the victim has brought shame or dishonor upon the family or has violated the principles of community or religion in the culture. And it could spread from like divorcing or being forced or refusing to enter an arranged marriage or refusing to have a child. It could also be being raped, and they'll do an honor killing because they don't want to like make themselves look bad. And it could also be just because you're wearing jewelry or different clothing and accessories.
It's crazy to think about a
That
woman
is-
being murdered because of an accessory.
Yeah.
It's
That is
horrible because they
incredibly
call it like
upsetting.
honor killings when there's nothing honorable about killing a woman, you know?
Right.
Indeed.
It's
Indeed.
crazy.
Just like the name they give it to kind of like glorify themselves.
Yeah.
You know? This is an honor killing. This is
It's to,
something
like,
we're doing for
justify
our
it.
family honor, right?
Yeah.
When in reality, what they're doing is assassinating an innocent
People.
woman. And that's incredibly horrible. I find that to be, oh my God, it makes me very emotional. So what is being done about this, Kiara?
Well, in 2011, they in the European Convention, the Council of European Convention, they had established the Istanbul Convention, which was founded in a city in Turkey, and it was basically to fight against this violence and specifically domestic violence in these countries, because these countries are very conservative countries that we were talking about, and they basically a lot of them have this belief that women are less than, and it's not really spoken about when women are being abused or like basically hunted for doing these things that shouldn't be crimes or bad things. And a lot of countries signed this treaty and put it into effect, but since then it hasn't really been enforced, which is why so many of these killings have been going on and have not been addressed the way they should be. And so the protests are basically a call to action to the government, telling them that things need to change and that this needs to be enforced. But the problem with that is a lot of the government leaders, including the president of not only Turkey, but one of the other countries, Poland, that was involved in this convention, they believe that having women, allowing women to have this power to speak out and everything, it would go against their family traditions and it would break apart families. So they're trying to get rid of that, the Istanbul Convention as a whole, and it would basically not fight the issues that are going on today.
So that's like a really big thing. I remember reading. I remember taking this class last year at Bergen Community College, and it was contemporary moral issues. And a big thing of what we talked about was, what is right between, what is right and what is right, cultural, right? And who is somebody like an outsider, for example, to go in a culture and say, what you're doing is wrong because this and this and that, because they could just say it's our culture and because you're an outsider you don't understand it. But what would you guys say to these people who would tell you that it's their culture to behave this way and it's their culture to treat women so inferiorly?
Well, regardless of culture, I think it's taken into a way where killing is justified, and I don't think in any culture or religion that it is justified to kill people, like in general, especially women for just living their lives. And I think that it was even if it is part of their culture, that it was pushed to an extreme and created into this extremist belief that women shouldn't have those equal rights as men, and or even like those little the tiniest things that a woman does, like Jair said, like wear accessories or something like that, they should be killed for, and like regardless of like their beliefs or anything. I think they're just using that as an excuse to continue to stay superior in their culture and country.
I that you should of course you should implement your culture into your lifestyle, but like not too closely, if that makes sense. Like their culture is, I don't want to say toxic and be rude, but it's a little toxic of how they view women as like second citizens. And I do think like, oh yeah, like everything but that they should celebrate, but not everything about their culture.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Jair. I'm sorry, Melissa, you can go.
No, let's say I just wanted to say that like I definitely do agree, and I feel like no matter what, no cultural or religious reason can ever justify like a murder or like the mistreatment of a person.
I definitely agree with you. I believe like this institutionalized laws are the reason why we have so many femicides all over the world. Because right now we're focusing on Turkey, right?
Mm-hmm.
But imagine how those numbers that both Jair and I gave, imagine how magnified they become once you take into consideration or other geographical locations, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I had to do a research paper junior year about the cultural, how cultural institutions impair the advancement of women all over the world. And I even got in contact with some organizations in like South Africa and Egypt, and that was actually really cool. And you know, they were able to tell me the stories of these crazy like cultural things that they had, like FGM, or I don't remember the name of that one specifically, but it involved like the gang banging of women to cleanse the men that committed such an act. And when you imagine something like that being done to a woman for the male's benefit, it literally just, I mean, it's horrible. And writing that paper, I like had so many mental breakdowns. It was incredibly like so heartbreaking. Thank you, Jair. So my other question is, what solution would you propose to these like really conservative I'm just gonna say it out straight, closed-minded people, you know? What solution would you offer to them that would kind of like, I guess, compromise their beliefs with why their actions are so unjust towards women?
Well, I don't really think there's like, with some of them being that closed-minded, and like even with all these numbers rising, and them still being firm in their beliefs that this will tear apart families, and that women like basically shouldn't tell their stories and seek help. It seems like at this point there's really no way of compromising with these mindsets. And if we do, well, if they those women affected in those countries, if they do try to compromise and sort of step down from their position, it will allow the government and these men to continue to take this control that they already have. And so I feel like these, as long as these protests continue to get stronger, and as they're getting more attention, and I think that's what's going to provide this change in their laws and in their culture.
Yeah. I just think it's crazy because as as a country, Turkey is like one of the like put gender pushing norms out there. Like they really were like one of the first countries to like let women to be in office, to run for like president. I think they even had like a first female president. But it's just like it's kind of hypocritical of them, because like on the outside they're like, yeah, we're doing all this, but then in the inside they just don't care about like what happens to like females like in households and everything. Like there was this good quote that I got from an article from the Asian Times that state feminism was all about the public space. It had a little concern for what happened behind closed doors. The primary objective was to empower women as a class, but not necessarily as individuals.
And that just only shows like,
yeah,
you know, because maybe it's not only Turkey doing this. You know, it can be other countries all around the world. So
This
you
happens like
hear,
everywhere. Yeah.
right, like, so you hear about this like empowering women as a class, like you said, Jair, rather as individuals, which should be the focus, you know, because
Yeah.
these individuals, they're the ones that make the greatest impact. Like I said, 211 women had been murdered in 2020 alone in Turkey. But this individual, Pinal, her case was the one that like sparked this kind of like revelation, you know? So I think they underestimate the power that an individual case can make, and the power that an individual woman's story can make. And that, I think that's an incredible mistake from them. But I think that's a huge favor for us, you know, because we understand the power that an individual can make. And as long as, you know, people keep coming together to protest and raise awareness about this issue, I think change can be done. And, you know, even the youth council, I think we can do something about it, right?
Yeah.
To educate people about it. Because something that I wrote even about in my paper back in junior year, and something that I still believe, is that education can be like the driving force towards changing these mindsets and changing, kind of like modernizing these cultures into, you know, understanding the impact of women, because women make up half of the population, right? And we still continue like under recognizing their efforts. So I believe that if both women and men are educated about their impact in the world and the place that they hold, I mean, I believe that so much can be done, you know? Because something that I also saw was that some women actually believed that these things should be done to them, you know? That the world was this way and that
I
they
know.
had to accept it. And that's another horrible reality, that they are so incredibly like, what's that word?
Like trap.
Mind washed. What is
Brain,
it?
brainwashed.
Brainwashed, right. Right. So they are so incredibly brainwashed that they believe that all these cultural like what's the name? All these cultural customs should be done to them, like, you know, FGM and so on and so forth. When actually they're just used to like keep telling them
It's
their
like,
place, you
this
know?
happened to like
So my
people
yeah.
all the way back then, so it's okay to be happening now.
Right, right. Like their grandmothers and their grandmother had it happen. So I mean, I guess they
Yeah, it's
must
like
be thinking, you know,
normal.
it was like that back then. It's normal. Exactly. So my next question to you guys is, what would you guys say to these women? You know, like it's an incredible, challenging, like such a challenging thing to try to change that mindset of years and years and years. But if you guys could say something to them, what would you tell them?
It's really hard to like imagine being in shoes, like I said about their culture. It's a very submissive culture. Like women, a lot of the times they don't even have jobs or anything. They stay home and they care for the children in the home as they're like supposed to do, according to their cultural customs. And so they don't really see like why they need to reach out like this, like, oh, my husband's beating me. That's just because like he's allowed to do that because he's the head of the household. He does what he wants to
Or maybe
anybody else in
because
the
they
household.
deserve it, right?
Yeah, like, oh, I did this wrong. Like he had, like, if she's a child or should be punished for living her life when and in reality, even if they don't see it that way, like if they know it's wrong, they have the fear of speaking out, because if the man is the head of the household, he has all the money, he has the house, he has probably the custody over their children if they have, like, if something goes wrong between them. So if they are willing to speak out and actually find help, and things and they end up going wrong, they can end up losing their entire lives. So it's really hard to like tell them that it's gonna be okay, or like to seek help, because like when we like put into like perspective of like how many actual shelters and how many laws are put in place to protect them, there's not many. So it's kind of hard to guarantee that they're gonna be safe once they come out about their story. So I'm sure there's so many other like women that are scared because of that reason. Like there's nowhere for them to go.
And if you think about it, even in this country, we are so open about, women coming forward. Well, to an extent, right? Because I still see so many challenges in that.
Yeah.
But we are way more open than Turkey, right? About women coming forward. And even here, it's underreported. Like even here, they're afraid to come forward. So imagine a culture that's so bent on putting them down. Like just the other day, I was reading about this police station that was destroying rape kits. Like, why on earth would you do such a thing? Like, I don't understand. Like, what good did you get from that? It's horrible. It's horrible. But I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring that up. What do you think, Yair? What would you say to this one?
I don't know. It's like it's kind of hard because like my first thought would be like, oh, like get out of there, like because like yeah, like just get out of there because like you're trapped in an area where like no matter what you do, it's always gonna like bite you in the back. But I don't want to say like get out of there because they have so much, like you have everything, like their entire like basically culture like there. Like you have they probably have like a family. They probably have like friends, loved ones,
Children.
everything, children. So it's like they can't just get up and leave. And I just feel like if they're gonna try to leave, they will be targeted by their like husband or by like their brothers and even their fathers for an honor killing, you know. And I just feel like it's just a very hard situation to come up with a solution for.
Indeed. What do you think, Melissa?
I definitely do agree. Like it's like I want to assure them that they'll be safe, but it's crazy because when you look at the statistics and stuff like that, like according to the World Health Organization, they say that 38% of women in Turkey are going to experience violence from their own partners. So like you're basically you have that risk of having that. And I feel like it's so sad. And I don't know, it's like really tough, but I do like admire all the people protesting and saying that, yeah, we need to do something about it. So I guess to all those people protesting, just keep on protesting. And we have to make sure that the Istanbul Convention is held up because we don't want them to overturn that.
Indeed. I agree with all of you guys about how challenging addressing this is. I think if I could say something to these women, because just like Jair said, it's not like you can tell them to leave, because there is all of this holding them back, right? I think I would just tell them that, we're here for them. That even though we're like so far, so geographically far, we're still here talking about the issues that impact them and that we're here to support them, that we know this has been going on for so long. So therefore it's so incredibly hard to fight it. And it's so incredibly challenging to address it, but that we're here and that we understand, even to an extent, because I don't think we can't understand everything that they go through because they're the ones that go through it, right? We haven't been in their position, but we understand. I mean, my great grandma, she died earlier this year, but my mom was telling me about how she had an arranged marriage when she was 11 years old.
Yikes.
So, and then she was pregnant with my grandma at 14 years old, which is insane, right? Like, I'm 17, like I just turned 17, and literally like I have no idea of how to do anything or like when I'm even gonna have like a child or stuff like that,
Yeah.
So like to think of like that perspective, 11 and 14 years old, it's crazy. But I just want to demonstrate that we have like kind of that understanding where we know to an extent of the things that they are going through. And I would just want to tell them that we're here for them and we're here to support any protest that they do or any other kind of like rebellion thing that they do. So my other question to you guys is, why do you guys think talking about this is important? Because it's not like we're saying it to them, right? But why do you think talking about this to the public or even just between ourselves is important?
Well, it raises awareness. This is an issue not only, like we said, it's not only in Turkey. It's an issue globally that women every day face, and if it's not talked about, then nothing's gonna happen. Like, but even but just talking about it and bringing it up and getting more people to understand and, like you said, like educate themselves on what's going on, it'll bring this attention that is needed in order to make some sort of change, even if it starts small. The first way to do this is by bringing awareness.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I also think like it opens up like doors to like more possibilities, like it's more of like a domestic issue sort of ish. And the more we talk about it, the more we realize where it's like this is literally happening like everywhere. This could happen like somewhere next door, and it could like make you notice like the signs and possibly like save someone from a situation like that.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. And it's like, if I feel like if since like we're not really directly talking to them, but I feel like if people start to see that, like us, since we live in America, people start to see that Americans are just like, wow, look at what Turkey's doing to their own citizens. Like they're not doing anything to protect the women. I feel like then they're gonna feel like some sort of pressure that they have to, And I feel like it's definitely important that we talk about these issues so that they know that we're aware of what's going on, and we may not like want to talk to them, like associate with their country, if that makes sense.
I think it's also important because it kind of like puts a damper on the continuation of such traditional values, right? So I think if more people, are aware about it, like Kiara said, I think it makes it less likely to be continued, to be repeated. Like that's why I love history so much. I love learning so that I know my part in this world and the role that I can play to like stop history from repeating. So I think that if we talk within ourselves or in this podcast, like it's going to go out to the public and people watching it and so on, I think it makes them see their own part in that they have to play, like the part that they can play to stop something like this happening. Because like Jair was saying in Kiara, this is not only in Turkey, this is everywhere, just next door, like Jair said. It can happen absolutely anywhere. So I think it's important that we understand how we can like recognize the signs of domestic violence or just help out a friend, or even if it's not a friend, just anyone. There are like resources that can help people all over. And I think it's important that we make it available to them, even through here, the Youth Council, or other organizations all around us. So my other question is, if you guys ever found yourself in this position where you see a person undergoing treatment, because here it's not only like in modern societies, because I don't think this would happen in Turkey because men have already so much power over women, and they all know it, so which is horrible. But here I've read a lot about abuse towards men as well, and like in the military here, of course, in the military, it's like high against women, like super horrible. I was reading about that too. But abuse against men, that's also a thing, and rape and all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking, what would you say to these victims, both men and women, if you found yourself in a situation where they were close to you and you could help?
Hard question.
I'm sorry?
It's a hard question.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Because, like, what do you say to them? Like, you don't even, like, you can't even imagine that kind of pain and, like, trauma that puts us in, and, like, how much it affects them, their daily lives. And, like, you just want to just be there for them and tell them, get better, and that people are with them and fighting for this to be stopped and prevented, but it's just scary and hard to go about.
I just think it's like very hard because like if they were like trapped in a situation like that, I like they wouldn't focus like on the negative parts of the relationship. They would mainly focus like on the positive parts. So then they would be like, oh, like yeah, they might have done this, but they also did like X, Y, and Z, so they can't be that bad. So I just feel like they're like really trapped, and like
Yeah.
I I can't like say like, oh, like I know what you're going through, because I don't know what they're going through. I haven't gone through anything like that at all, and it's just very hard. But I would like tell them like, hey, like if you ever need like an outlet to like just like rant about, just like I am here to listen. And I think that's very important. They just need someone to like just to listen to.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I agree with both you guys, and I feel like, you know, that they should know that there's always like a safe space and you can always trust. And I feel like women's shelters, those are always like outlets you can go to, but sometimes they're like underfunded and issues like that. But then I feel like, I don't know, it's like it's so tough, but because as Jair said, they always see the positives instead of the negatives, and it's like it's hard to get out of a situation like that. But I just reassure them that they have my full support, and that I'll always be there, like if they need shelter or something like that.
And also, I feel like it's so incredibly potent, the shame, like
Yeah.
the shame of being a victim.
Mhm.
And
They never
I
want
believe that
that it could happen to them, you know.
right. Like I believe it's that's one of the big things that also plays a role in domestic violence or even rape victims, or so on and so forth. I feel like they are shameful, and I would like to tell them that there is no shame in that, that the shame should be in the oppressor, the person who did this to you. They should be the one holding the shame, but that the victim, that they did nothing wrong. And I feel like that's an incredibly like more potent issue within male victims, because society paints this whole picture of them as having or being all alpha, right? Like they are the dominant, that they are that they always keep things to themselves, no crying because that's seen as feminine, or so on and so forth. And I feel like they would be more shameful to come forward with their stories. And I just want to encourage them to do it, because not only do people around them help them, both men and women, not only the people around them help them, but also, this can stop others from undergoing that same treatment, right? It can encourage others to come forward with their stories, which would eventually make others understand the signs and kind of recognize the signs. Like, oh, I heard about this the other day, and I think I may be going through that, and it may help them get out of that situation, right? So I think it's an important issue to be talking about. But thank you, all of you, for all of your perspectives in this. I am incredibly glad that we were all able to be so open and just kind of raise awareness about this issue to the public. So the Youth Council ourselves, we're doing way much more to raise awareness about femicide killings in Turkey. And to those women, we just want to remind them that we are here for them, and we are here to support them in any way that we can. So thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned for our next videos, and we are here for you. Yay. Bye everyone.